Yeah, the Cedar Flats Trail history. It's interesting as just a citizen going into these efforts, you never understand just how detailed and in depth getting them done are. Where we sit today is historically 2 years ago, we had a final decision made by the forest to adopt and accept our trail proposal and give us the green light basically to start the funding mechanism. And in order to do that, we had to raise a significant amount of money. But I'm happy to say that as we come to a close this fall, we will have put nearly 10 miles of new trail out here on Cedar Flats inside of a year and a half of construction. Hi, my name's Sam Kavanagh. I am the Vice President of Gateway to Glacier Trails organization and a lifelong resident of Columbia Falls.
What's your involvement with the Cedar Flats Trails project?
My involvement with the Cedar Flats Trails project kind of harkens back to, 6-7 years ago. Was a part of a kind of a group of cyclists that got together and started kind of brainstorming how we might be able to get trails or where we might be able to get trails in the Columbia Falls area. Initially, it was just kind of a couple social gatherings, gaming, or gauging kind of the interest of the general community, which then kind of grew into several of us getting out on the trails here, the existing trails, and trying to expand and see what would be available. And ultimately made a loose proposal to the Forest Service that didn't really have much traction at that time, largely because of just the financial burden of going through the NEPA process. And then much to our advantage, the forest decided to do some treatment here to mitigate some of the wildfire issues, and asked whether or not we would be interested in putting a proposal forward on the project at that time, which was then when we got all the boots on the ground and started plotting upwards of 45 miles, I think was with that first proposal. We had trails that went all the way to the top of Tea Kettle Mountain. Obviously pretty audacious in terms of what we thought we were going to be able to do. But what that process kicked off was ultimately the 25 miles that we now have approved, or the approval to build 25 miles of trail. And a big portion of that also became, as our group of cyclists kind of matured and recognized that we need to be a part of a nonprofit, we joined with the existing Gateway to Glacier Trails, much because we're serving the same community, and we both had a vested interest in trails within the northeast portion of the valley, and it seemed best to join hands and so that we could pool our resources. The Cedar Flats trail system, I think, is special not only to me but all of us involved because, one, it's key to our community. Most of us used to spend days or hours throughout the year loading up our cars and driving to other communities to use their trail system because we knew of the physical and mental value that it brought to us. And so in 2017, getting back and just recognizing that is a hindrance for a number of people. They don't have the means to go and drive to trailheads. And quite honestly, we have the forest here for it. We want to introduce our community to those kind of trail recreation opportunities, and that's why we started to pour the effort we had into it.
Hey, Rebecca Powell here. My family and I have lived in Columbia Falls for close to 20 years now. We've been recreating on that little patch of Forest Service land by the power lines for just as long, but now we call it the Cedar Flats Trails. The work that the folks at Gateway to Glacier Trails have put into this area is pretty remarkable. Thoughtful trails that are well built, parking area updates, and even more to come. To have this network so close to town and available to all folks is a real gift to the community of Columbia Falls.
The biggest thing I would tell to people is I've poured a lot of my life into this, not for myself, but for them. And I'm excited for them to get a chance to experience it. And I think if they take the time to step out on this trail system, they can be believers. And it's to remember, it's not just money. right? It's time on the ground, it's moving sticks, it's cutting trees, it's letting people know that there's drainage issues, and then showing up when we are going to pick up shovels and get to work, or we're going to brush back things. You know, we've got a Snowberry is an adaptive trail system, and it takes a higher level of maintenance to make sure that's going to be available to adaptive cyclists, and we're really proud of that. But for this trail system to continue to thrive and be what we all intend it to be, it takes people. It takes people invested with their sweat and tears. It takes people invested with their financial capacity, and sometimes just their intellect, right? I mean, there's a lot of smart, intelligent people that can help us do this more efficiently and effectively. And so my plea of sorts would just simply say, for all that's been done today on behalf of this community, we can do so much more as this community becomes part of the solution. And so my ask is, come join us. Come join us. Let's make special memories out here. Let's make something that stands the test of time.